This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on what your kids are spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely. And parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/iHeart.
Let your imagination take flight with an AI-powered PC from Lenovo. Whether it's creating digital art, designing new software, or building a portfolio for a future career, our PCs are powered by Intel Core Ultra processors to help students unlock smarter learning and unleash their creativity. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. All you have to do is choose the one that fits your passion. Head to Lenovo.com to shop AI PCs and find your perfect companion. Plus, get 5% off when you create an education account.
And boom!
Common man, no show prep, no solid plan. Spins a yarn, begins a tale. The esoteric approach won't fail. Tune in, it's time for Common Man. Common man, charms your housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot? Where'd we play? Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Oh boy! Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello?
Time is running out on Dan Cole's round. Let's go to 15. Bob?
Yeah, John Cole has been visibly angry. He's been talking to himself quite a bit. And it doesn't get any easier here on the par 3 15th hole at Minnesota National. This hole is guarded by 2 bunkers with a big tree in front of the green. Very challenging tee shot. He's opted to hit a 5-iron here. Cole, unreal pants, fluttering in the wind, mumbling to himself, I've got to have this shot.
Hooty-hoo!
Ooh, that's very well struck. Spinning through the air like a J.J. McCarthy pass. It's right on line. Looking good. Oh, my! It's in! I can't believe what I just saw. A hole-in-one for Cole at the 15th, and he's pointing at patrons in the gallery shouting, you doubted me, you doubted me, you doubted me, and now he's embracing his son, Peter. What a moment between father and son here at the 15th at Minnesota National.
Yeah, I always love that one. He's a rube. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? What are you talking about? Playoffs? Kidding me? Playoffs?
Cam Dantzler, what are you doing?
Boy, how disappointing is that?
We're the state of hockey, and I think that proves it, so.
I'm going to say something controversial here.
That's interesting.
Time for 2 more questions, guys.
I've seen enough out of Cousins, Paul. Put him on ice.
I'm a fraud.
Yes.
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the north. This is the common man, Dan Cole.
Greetings, good afternoon, Ack, and Dak, Act you and yours. Cold, dead, rigor mortis laid. Now what do we do? I didn't realize I'd missed the Wolves. I could never miss you more than I loving you like this, so I could never miss you more than I do, because it's not worth spinning wheel the topic. My game's rock bottom. I think we made that sort of an unofficial rule that if I'm just off and we're not spinning, I don't want to take a chance on it landing on Common's golf game, which it does rather frequently. But when you shoot 88 Oldsmobiles, do you think 9 was a good score on the 12th hole at Stone Ridge, also known as Snag? That's a good score, par 4. Do you think a 9's a good score?
I'm not familiar with the hole, but I can't imagine that's a good score.
Do you think 9's a good score on a hole? I mean, and it's like I'm just demoralized by the game. I have a love-hate relationship with the game. I love it, but I hate it. And right now, I just hate it. Though, last hole's called curtains, and there's kind of curtains on my career. If you want to call them what I do for golf, it's not really a career. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even have said that. I don't have a golf career. You, on the other hand, have had an experience that's not unlike a PGA Tour player when you shot that 74 to Sass Ball Charge.
I always love that one.
And so I had a terrible drive, just this pull, chicken wing it. Blah, 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 blah. So I can't get there with any club in my bag. And I go, I'm just going to hit a 5 iron just because I want to hit an iron, because that's what I'm hitting worse than anything. I'm just going to make as big a turn as I can, make it big as I hit a perfect 5 iron. And I go, well, that was just by accident. So I drop another ball, hit a perfect 5 iron. And then I just stopped. I go, okay, just stop. But it's like, and then that's what gives you the hope. You go, wow, it's there somewhere. No, it's not. You're a terrible player. And I'm getting close to to following in the Scarf's footsteps. The legendary Eric Uskala, former newsman for WCCO Radio, still he's on TV on Channel 2 for Almanac. He just stopped playing golf. He was a member at Hillcrest, and I think he just was like, it's just don't play that well, and it's not that much fun anymore. I'm giving up the pursuit of chasing that little white ball around the golf course.
It's not a challenge for you anymore.
Well, yeah, no, for me it's too challenging now. That's the thing, is I just can't play like I once. I was never a great player. I'm not trying to, tell you that, it was great. But I got the handicap down to that 4-ish, 5-ish, and I've shot 30 rounds of even par better in my life. That's not a lot when you've played 3,000 rounds of golf. But I shoot in the 70s, it's just I can't even make solid contact. So, but as the official, unofficial ambassador of Minnesota Golf, I can't shirk my dirt. It's sort of like being a mailman. Rain, snow, sleet, gloom of night, double bogey, triple bogey, quadruple bogey, gloom of night. I got to play. And I'm glad you played the soundbite of my ace that I made last year at Minnesota National, because that's where I am this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, we're making the trek up north.
Chance for a little deja vu.
Deja vu all over again. It's a tee to green live from Minnesota National. So we'll wrap up about 3. I'll get in the old jalopy, and I suppose about 347, 348. I'll be north of that Anoka County line, and you know what that means, don't you?
Troubles are behind you.
You are correct. And then we'll be there for
Lucky.
For tee to green. Yeah, I love Minnesota National. Great golf course. And we'll talk about it in depth tomorrow. Tee to green from 10 until noon. Today, by the way, that's why I called you earlier. You called me back. You went to voicemail. I'm coming down 94, and all of a sudden I see the electronic board say Lowry tunnels, basically don't even try it. There was a crash. Does anybody know what happened at the Lowry?
I saw something. I saw a headline about it. A semi flipped over.
So he took it. You ever see that sign where they show the semi from the rear view, and it's up on 2 wheels, basically telling you go 40 miles an hour because you're going to tip this over? Probably somebody ignored that.
Semi hauling ammunition crashes in Lowry Tunnel, shuts down I-94 in both directions.
Wow.
The wreck on Interstate 94 in Minneapolis occurred shortly after 11 a.m. today. Both sides of the interstate will be closed indefinitely. The driver suffered non-life-threatening injuries, and officials said no other vehicles were involved.
Okay. So it basically said don't go. And I got to, generally speaking, I'm rolling down 94 we like to do the bit where I walk in just before the show starts, but I usually get here roughly 11:30, right? Give or take 10 minutes. Sometimes 11:20, sometimes 11:40. There are 11:45s and 11:50s. But now I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? Can't go through the Lowry. So then I went to GPS, and it had me going downtown and rights and lefts, and there's construction downtown. And, all of a sudden it says you'll get there at 11:46, then 11:47, then 11:50. So that's when I called you to say, look, you might have to wing it. Just take her that first segment. But my Skip Barber Racing School experience of being a graduate, I was able to do a little of this, a little of that with the emphasis on last. So I was able to get here in time for the Grum to begin. But, today is a different Friday. We have no Wolves. That's over. It is. I didn't really realize how much I started to enjoy the NBA playoffs. I've not watched I watched the Wolves last year, but, now. I watched Bodega, though. He was brilliant last night. That's what a team does that's interested in extending their season and believes they can win. The Wolves showed us that they knew they couldn't beat the Thunder. Matter of fact, they gave them their best shot in Game 4 and lost by 2. And that game didn't seem that close. Did you think that seemed just to be a 2-point game? I just had the feel that it was not a 2-point game, even though it was a 2-point game. Does that make any sense?
I mean, in Game 5, they really weren't that far off.
No, they just need a 3-point basket, a foul called on the other team, a 3-point basket, a foul called on another team. But I think the Wolves realized, I think they collectively, whether they had this discussion in the locker room, which I don't think they did, I just think collectively they all just sort of knew we can't beat this team. Yeah, we blew them out in game, was it 3? Yeah, yes. we blew them out in Game 3, but we gave them everything. We came out with desperation, and they knew it. And so that's when they folded up the tent and said, well, we'll wait till Game 4. We'll get the series back under control, which is what they did in the best game of the series. And then they just said, I'm sure they collectively just thought to themselves, there's no way we can beat this team. So they mailed it in.
They knew with OKC's defense, like the only way their only opening they ever gave you was kind of like that corner 3.
Yeah.
And in Game 4, Dante was hitting those.
Yep.
Nah was hitting those.
Yes.
And you still lost.
You still lost. That's correct.
By 2 points. And then once Jaden starts missing those in Game 5, they said, well, we're in trouble because we have to hit those.
Yeah.
Just to compete.
And then last night, the Knickerbockers facing the same predicament, down 3-1 at home. And they had the advantage of playing at home in that game. But again, as we've seen in the playoffs, home court advantage, I think it's a push. I really do. We've seen it throughout every series. We've seen visiting teams win off, and we talked about this. Tennessee, I think they're like Shea. When they were doing free throw merchant. Did you see the quotes from him? Loves it. He loves when they say that stuff.
Sure.
Those guys thrive on that.
It gets under opponent's skin.
Yes. They thrive on being on the road and getting the opposing fans going and then silencing them.
Well, that's why, like, Game 1, remember when the Wolves got off to a decent start in Game 1? That they were leading. And you had that play where Ant threw the ball at SGA when he was laying on the floor. It's like, do you not understand that he wants you to do that? He wants you to get angry, and you're only going to get him going more by doing that. You just have to, you have to hide your frustration. He's going to feed off your frustration.
And then when you're on the road, teams like when the other team's fans become quiet, right? When you silence them, and that's what they thrive on. So, but last night, Bodega Cat, Brunson Burner, and the rest of the Knickerbockers, they played like a team that is still serious about trying to compete, or at least has some pride in their game. We didn't see any of that with the Wolves the other night. No program password today because we're in the midst of the Invitational now. It tend to be how when your team gets eliminated in any sport, you kind of lose a little bit of interest. I'm completely disinterested.
You've lost a lot of interest in the tournament over the years.
You are correct, and it happened again yesterday. I lost to Mark Rose. I feel like people are laughing at me behind my back. Common lost to Rosen. Can you believe it? It's embarrassing, and I admit it, but it's over. Little B though at 1 o'clock. So we'll cobble it together. What I plan to do is just talk slower today. So in other words, the pace I would normally talk to fill 9 segments, I'll talk slow enough to fill like 15 because it feels like we got 15 of them today. So we'll take a break here and come back and talk a little of this, a little of that, with the emphasis on the laugh. And if I talk at this pace, Tenby, we should get to 3 o'clock without any trouble. We'll be back after this.
Are you shopping for a new laptop while still trying to keep up with technology and AI? Talk about feeling burnt out. But no more. Lenovo.com makes it easier than ever to find the perfect PC. In fact, we'll break it down for you. Step 1. Shop our lineup of AI PCs powered by Intel Core Ultra processors. Because why deal with downloading new software when you can buy a smarter PC that already comes with all of the AI features and tools? Step 2. Find the one that fits your passion. Whether you're a creative genius, a research scientist, a hardcore gamer, or a future CEO, no dream is too big. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. You can keep up with your ideas as well as any challenges you may face. Step 3. Add to cart and purchase. Oh, if you're a college student or a teacher, make an education account through us and get 5% off your whole order. Shop now at Lenovo.com. A better future is waiting, and it needs you.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on what your kids are spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/iHeart.
Farm Aid 40 is coming to Minneapolis. Join Willie Nelson, Neil Young, Dave Matthews, and more. Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. Celebrate 40 years of music, food, and family farming. Enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets now on our contest page. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter today.
It's a couple 13, 14 past. I'm common. He's 10B. This talking slowly and clearly and enunciating perfectly should get us to 3 o'clock with very little material.
What'd you shoot today?
Where we play. Just going over my round talking in a normal speed on my voice would take us 2 or 3 segments in 88. So you want to know how I hit 9? How I made a 9? Hit a good T-ball. Then I sliced a hybrid into the tree. Took a drop because I'm not going to go look for it. And I don't take it's a lost ball. You don't go and throw it out where it went in and count one. It's lost. So in the woods in 2, out in 3. 4th, sliced that one, but that stayed in place. So it's like driving 1, out in 2, back in 3 and 4, short of the green. Thinned a wedge over the green. That's 1. I can't even count that high. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit a bad wedge. Maybe I only made 8. I should go back and fist pump. Whatever the case may be, it was just awful. Time for Peek at the Purple, brought to you by our pals at Affordable Electric. Affordable Electric is your old home specialist. They're very familiar with old wiring like knob and tube. Tenby, you probably didn't even know that in old homes it's knob and tube wiring.
Huh?
Cloth-covered wiring, aluminum, and older fuse boxes. They understand their limitations and potential safety concerns. Affordable Electric can thoroughly inspect an old home's electrical system, assessing its condition, identifying potential hazards, and recommend necessary upgrades or replacements. Reach out today. That would be affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric.com is shockingly affordable. Vikings and general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah agree to a contract extension. I've been waiting for it to happen, Tenby. I was actually starting to think that maybe the Wilfs were going to do the old, maybe we'll just wait one more year.
Let it play out a little bit?
Yeah, let it play out because, they did sign after last year's 14-3 season and Kevin O'Connell receiving the Coach of the Year award. I think they decided we better lock him in now. And he has done an exceptional job. It's hard to argue with his first year. They went, 14-3. The second year,
13-4 the first year.
13-4. Then it was 7-9. It was back to 14-3. And again, both, he's 0-2 in the playoffs, right? They lost to the Giants that first year at home. That was not good. And then they got, the Rams, handled them with relative ease. But, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah did not sign an extension at the same time. And it's been a while. And Kwesi, he brushed it off. He said, there's other things I'm concerned about. I let my representation handle that, and apparently they have. He was entering the final season of a 4-year contract. The terms of his deal were not disclosed, though we are told it is a multi-year contract extension. So he's in the fold, Tennessee. So both Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah have been signed. And remember, they hired at the same time. Adofo-Mensah was responsible for hiring Kevin O'Connell. That's a good hire. We've talked about the draft record for Kwesi hasn't been much to write home about. But he, and again, I don't know how much Zygmunt and Sir Mark Wilf, they're the ones that have to sign off on any hiring, right? So they obviously had to agree that Kevin O'Connell was the guy. And really, to be honest, I don't know if it's ever, we don't know what goes on in those meetings. They interviewed, what's his face? The guy that went to Sanford. Harbaugh. They interviewed Harbaugh. They interviewed O'Connell. And then I'm sure they got together, Kwesi and the Wilf brothers, and they had a discussion. And I don't know if that was all unanimous by all of them, if Kwesi really pushed for it, or maybe it was Zygmunt that said that's the guy I want. Regardless, it's the head coaching hire it looks pretty good to this point.
Well, it's kind of bizarre that, as you mentioned, Kwesi, 2 of the 3 seasons has a 13-win season and a 14-win season as GM. He's getting a contract extension, and we still don't know if he can draft.
Well, that's it. That's correct.
It's so bizarre. And now, clearly in free agency, we'll see about this year, but last year, home runs with Gernard and Van Ginkel and Cashman was a quality pickup. And, the corners they got were serviceable, and Aaron Jones was a quality player. Free agency with less to work with last year, he seemed to do pretty well. We won't know till they get to the season, but it looks like he hit a home run in free agency this year with a little bit more money to work with and addressed all the need. They look like there are many that think, hey, this is we don't know about the quarterback, but everything else looks like one of the best rosters in football. So the fact that he's put this together without really doing much on from a draft standpoint is kind of crazy. And ultimately, the performance of J.J. McCarthy and even Dallas Turner is going to go a long way in telling us whether, he can make up for some of his previous draft misses.
Right. And, the free agent signings, while you're right, they did hit a couple of ground rule doubles and even a home run or two. The thing is that costs you a lot of money. So, that's
long term, that's not the best approach.
Correct. I think this is sort of the widespread belief around the NFL. I think it's pretty much the prevailing wisdom is you build your team through the draft, and then you supplement it when you feel like your window's open, when it's the age of Aquarius, and you supplement with free agent players. And that's what the Vikings did last year, and it worked until they faced the Rams in postseason play. But at least they identified what they feel were the major issues. And I think we all, to a certain extent, agree that the problems were that the offensive line was a bit squishy in the middle. They weren't able to provide, and it was glaringly evident in the Rams game. I mean, they did not have to blitz once in that game and had 9 sacks. That tied a playoff record. So, and O'Connell made no bones about it in the season-ending news conference. We got to get better on the inside. They also knew defensively. Most of the Vikings' sacks were from the edge rushers or even linebackers. They were getting nothing from their interior linemen, and they were able to acquire a couple of guys that they think can help in that regard. So, but Kwesi's in, KOC's in, everybody's happy. Peek at the Purple brought to you by Affordable Electric. Affordable-electric.com for all your electrical needs. That's Affordable-electric. Break, come back. Little diss, dat, lat, and more controversial Vikings news next.
Unlock smarter learning with Lenovo AI-powered PCs powered by Intel Core Ultra processors. Head to Lenovo.com and choose from multiple devices to fit your passions. If you're a gamer, you can spend less time stressing about GPUs and CPUs and more time dominating with your AI-enabled Smart Engine, which optimizes your game performance in real time. Or maybe you're a scientist on the verge of a groundbreaking discovery and need a device with a longer battery life and AI-enhanced tools to give you extra time to finish your research. Or you're a musician preparing for your biggest break and need better, faster AI tools to make digital art a breeze, like creating band posters and t-shirt designs. Or you're a soon-to-be graduate needing to catch a recruiter's eye to land that dream job, so you need cutting-edge smart tools to build your portfolio from scratch. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. Plus, college students and teachers get 5% off with an education account on Lenovo.com. A better future is waiting, and it needs you.
Thanks to friends at Unreal. You can restock your wardrobe with Unreal golf apparel this year, just like Common. Register to win up to $1,000 in Unreal golf apparel on our contest page. One lucky winner will restock their closet with amazing golf apparel thanks to Unreal. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter today.
Couple 13-14 past here. Common Man program. I'm Common. He is 10 to B. It's a special night tomorrow night at Birdie's Golf in Woodbury. No, the golf simulator establishment will not be. We won't be there hitting knockdown, punch, cut, fade drives. We'll be creating laughter. I can't even say it I tried to say it with a straight face. Common Man, Meat Sauce, and Larry Mondello Guy will perform our final Flop, Sweat, and Tears show of the 2024-2025 comedy season. Tomorrow night, 7:30, I think is the start time. Doors will open at 6. Tickets are available at birdiegolf.com. That's BIRDI golf.com. I hope to see you there. Also,
if you want a little pregame laugh before that laugh, you can watch me play hockey tomorrow in using it loosely with me, a celebrity charity hockey game.
Where's that at?
That's going to be the Hendrickson Foundation. I've been love everything they stand for. They say it's like blind hockey and sled hockey and armed forces hockey.
Okay,
but they have a bunch of like current and former professional hockey players that'll be playing. I think Zach Parise actually is going to be playing in that game tomorrow night. Marcus Foligno of the Wild, John Merrill of the Wild. I even know Matt Boldy and Brock Faber. I don't think they're playing, but they're going to be there.
You're going to be on the same sheet of ice?
I am. So if you want to laugh at me against those guys, 5 o'clock Super Rink, and then you go to Flop, Sweat, and Tears tour after.
What's the name of the place again?
That would be the Hendrickson Foundation.
Yeah, but where's the place?
It's at Super Rink in Blaine.
What's the name of the place again?
Super Rink.
Where is Super Rink in Blaine?
If you just go straight up Central 65, past Highway 10.
What's the name of the place again?
That would be the Super Rink in Blaine.
Very good. Okay. I sometimes forget this thing. I need to get a piece of paper and a pencil. That sounds good. Also, I kind of gave it the bum's rush yesterday, and I didn't intend to do so because I wanted to mention it. I'm participating in the Phoenix residents' annual golf tournament. They've had golf tournaments since like 96 or 7, and I've been involved in every one except the very first one. Phoenix residents provides person-centered care and support for adults with disabilities. This is their biggest fundraiser of the year, and I'll be there hitting knockdown, punch, cut, fade draws. I think we're going to do a closest to the pin contest. The way I'm swinging the club right now, you'll be closer to the pin. But they've got a few spots left, foursomes. Today is the final day to register if you'd like to. PhoenixResidence.org. Yesterday said .com in my haste to get the message out. It's PhoenixResidence.org. All proceeds from this event will go back to their Sustain Our Services campaign, providing their staff with the wages and benefits they deserve. Their support's crucial because the more stable of a workforce they have, the better care they can provide our community's most vulnerable group. They do a terrific job. I love working with them as they help support adults with disabilities. So that's coming up on June 9th. And I'll put it into Workday, Tennessee, but Monday, June 9th, you're going to have to, the Tenant Fitzgerald will set sail. And my guess is it'll be partly cloudy skies with a light breeze at 12 noon, and then who knows what'll happen once. The
problem with the Monday voyages is you don't have the Rosen lifeboat. So that's 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, you got Micheletti. You got Falvey.
Falvey?
No, did I say Falvey? I meant Helvey.
Helvey.
I was going to say Falveen. You can get Falvey. Gorg.
Just hockey guys?
Fallness. Well, I mean, good. It's right up your alley. So Phoenix Residence is a good thing. Carpenter pencils. Remember we talked about them earlier in the week? Do you remember that? We were talking about number 2 pencils and Carpenter pencils. Carpenter pencils have lead, actually graphite, of the same rectangular shape so it can make big fat lines, and you can sharpen easily with a utility knife, like a linoleum cutter style. Also, they don't roll. That's why most pencils are 6 or 8-sided. Number 2 pencils are actually 2H or 2F. On a test ballot, they need to be that or softer to make sure they are black enough to read. Quick note on the hardness scale, lead weights typically go from 1 to 9, low numbers starting at the middle and going out to bigger numbers equal extremes. H19 for hard scale, 9H being hardest. By the way, these are like trying to write with a nail, so not commonly seen after 6H or even 4H. These are used to make barely visible layout lines that are either erased after they help lay out the real line locations, lengths, or left because they don't really show up on the prints. Side note, there's an F in the middle, not sure why, because there's also an HB in the middle. Soft scale, B1, B9, with 9 being the softest. They are usually used for really dark, fat lines and for filling in solid shapes. The softest ones are more likely to be used for shading / art purpose. High number B pencils are also rare. A 2B is already soft and smudgeable. So now you know everything you wanted to know about Carpenter pencils and regular pencils.
It's unbelievable.
Well, think about that.
I didn't realize it was that in depth.
That's from Pizza Engineering Guy. He says, as an architect of the underrated back in my day, boomer, old fogey generation, I was a dangerously good draftsman on vellum or mylar. So he knew, I had no idea pencils were that complicated and complex. I mean, I just thought a pencil's a pencil. You got a number 2 pencil, a number 3 pencil. They work, they don't. You sharpen them, that's it. He broke it down into such great detail that I was fascinated by it, and I thought I would share it with our audience. Now, I wish I would have read it much slower so it could have got me to the top.
Do you ever use pencils at any other time, at any point in your life?
Crosswords. Like I told you, I talked about it. I do it. I use it for crossword pencils.
I think the only time I use it is like you got to mark a spot on a wall. You're going to drill a hole. I will use a pencil.
Or if you're, or if it's on a voting ballot, you'll use a number 2 pencil.
Sure.
You used to use a number 2 pencil. No, I crossword puzzles, like I mentioned, my dad would use an ink pen. I do not. So there you go. So there was a couple of announcements I had to get out of the way. The last, I think, we've basically put the Wolves season to bed yesterday. There's really not much more to say other than I want to tip my cap, or I guess I'd be tipping my tongue to Chip Scoggins, Fish Wrap Factory West Side columnist extraordinaire. He wrote his sort of postmortem piece yesterday, Tennessee, and I don't think he could have summed it up any better. Here's what he said, and great minds think alike. He said they looked like they didn't care. That's the most disturbing part of a loss that ended the Timberwolves season. There is zero shame in losing to a superior team, but to get out hustled and show so little fight and pushback with the season on the line was embarrassment to an organization that thought it had progressed beyond being a punchline. Move over, 41 Donut. You have company. And if you remember, I started yesterday's show by saying that exact thing, that I thought this was on the same level, if not worse, than 41 Donut. Chip goes on to write, the good vibes produced by being one of 4 teams still alive vanished out of sight Wednesday night. The pathetic display put forth leaves little doubt that the Wolves really aren't all that close to being championship ready as currently constructed. Another Tim Connolly shakeup very well might be on the drawing board. And I was getting text messages from the Wolves apologists, the diehard fans that want to believe that we're not that far away. Ant is, they want to keep going. Ant is really young. He's 23 years old and he's going to get better. And that very well may be, but he's also been in the league 5 years. They've got some contract situations. They have some players that have really contributed mightily to this team the last 2 seasons where they've gone to the Western Conference Finals. Certainly Nas, and he has a player option. Randall has a player option. And as Chip points out here when he talks about the future, says the starting point is Randall's status. He holds a player option, meaning he can opt in or out. The degree to which he flopped on the season's biggest stage gives serious pause to the idea of committing to him long-term as another cornerstone piece alongside Edwards and McDaniels. Randall was mostly fantastic in the first 2 series. This series, he reverted to the bad habits and bad body language that earned him a negative reputation before arriving in Minnesota. He was benched in the 4th quarter of Game 2, played even worse in Game 4, and fumbled his way through the first half of Game 5. Randall became a liability on the court, which sets off alarm bells given the magnitude of the moment and looming decision on his contract. And I don't think he's overreacting at all. I think he's spot on with that assessment, everything he said in that piece. He goes on to talk about the point guard situation. He says that's item number 2. Conley's professionalism has been a godsend for the organization, but he turns 38 in October and can no longer be entrusted with the lead role. Connolly traded up in last year's draft to select Dillingham to be a successor. Dillingham's rookie season was sporadic. The notion that he's ready to slide into the number 1 role on a contending team remains just a theory more than a definitive assertion, which I completely agree. In theory, he is your guy, but we don't know. And if you are a team that thinks you have your window open, which I'm not sure they do, I'm beginning to think this is just a guess, but the Wolves are going to regress. This is just, you know what, we're going to turn it around. This is just a guess. The Wolves are going to regress. I don't think there's any guarantee that they're going to take that next step. We talk about that with all the teams, Timmy, and not just Minnesota-based teams. And not just with players. I always use the Twins as the example. The pull-out pocket protectors after a fairly good season, like last year until the collapse. And then looking forward to the next season, they'll mention players A, B, C, D, E, and F, and they all had pretty good seasons. And the assumption is they're going to take that next step. Well, doesn't always work that way. As a matter of fact, usually 2 guys do, 2 guys stay the same, 2 guys regress. It's just as easy as the Vikings or the Wolves could regress. Says Connolly's list. And so he goes on to say, the Wolves desperately need a point guard who controls the game and organizes the offense when it becomes frazzled. The Thunder's ultra-aggressive and physical defense exposed that deficiency. Connolly's list doesn't stop there. Nas holds a player option, could become an unrestricted free agent. His shooting regressed. Here's my point. Everybody, we love Nas Reed. Everybody says Nas. But as Chip points out, his shooting regressed this season after he was named 6th man of the year a year ago, and he had a disappointing finish to the postseason. He spent far too much time and energy complaining to the officials. Na becomes an unrestricted free agent and likely will command more than the Wolves can or will pay to bring him back. And as I've pointed out on a number of occasions, and I'm the only one, Rudy Gobert is untradeable because of his contract and offensive shortcomings. The offense turned clunky when he was on the floor, making him a rather expensive piece, relegated to the bench. There's a lot.
He's the guy who doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because people have just, he's just a defensive guy. That's fine, but you're paying him a lot of money. He made the most money in the team this year. He's making $43 million. Yeah. And that's a guy that in Game 5 had to be put on the bench for a decent amount of time just because it wasn't a good matchup for the team.
Exactly.
And when you're paying a guy that much, he needs to be a big 3 member.
And that's why, and again, I got chastised, criticized, mocked, and ridiculed when I said they traded the wrong guy when they traded Big Meow instead of Gobert. Now, I know New York wasn't going to trade for Gobert. I know that, but I'm just saying the player I felt they should have kept, they didn't keep. Now, and I understand the financial part of it, and that's what a number of people want to point out, and that's true. But if you remember what Lowry said, now I know they're I think now that the season is over, they become the owners, right? I think that didn't change until the season ended. They still, majority owners, right?
Yeah.
And if you remember what Lowry said, I flush with cash. He bragged about how rich he was. Okay? As a matter of fact, when it came to talking about his money, he was basically doing this. If you're flush with cash, you can go over that luxury tax. I mean, you can if you want to. Yeah. They could have kept Bodega Cat had they wanted to. Now, I know there's other issues that arise with, I think then it's not just you have to pay a big chunk of money on the luxury tax. There's also, I think, there are some punishments, if you want to call, I don't know, for lack of a better term. I think you lose draft picks. There's other things that come into play, but to suggest that we just can't do it financially is not really true, I don't believe. Unless, again, it gets very technical. I'm certainly no expert when it comes to salary cap and luxury tax and all that. But, there's a lot of questions for this team. Will they, I said it the last couple of days, the old Bum Phillips thing, got to the door, knocked on it, we're going to kick it in next year. I think there's a lot of Wolves fans that think that's what's going to happen. Got to the door 2 years ago, knocked on it this year, we're going to kick it. We could very well. And I'd love to see it. I'd like to see a thrilling return to the days of, last week. But I just don't know if that's going to happen. Connolly's going to really have to work his magic here now because they've got some major decisions to make.
They do, but they at least have a building block to build around.
They do.
Right. They have a guy that, as long as he resigns here, we're always worried about our stars not wanting to be here. Maybe Ant at some point doesn't like what's being built around him and wants to go to one of those situations. But because you have a building block like Ant, and because he might be the face or one of the faces of the league over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, do I dare say Minnesota can be a bit of a destination for other stars to want to come?
I guess that's possible.
They want to team up with Anthony Edwards?
Well, there's been the discussion about Durantula.
That's a short-term thing, but
somebody asked me about Durantula today. Art, who is the starter at Stone Ridge. And he said, what do you think about Durantula? And my response was, after a slight pause, does Durantula care anymore? I really believe some players get to the point where they don't really care that much.
Average at that.
I care, man. Was that an Isaiah Ryder soundbite we have somewhere there? Some guys, I think, get to the point. Durantula's got his ship. He's got boatload of money, right? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to adding Durantula. He's certainly one of the better players to come down the pike in a long time.
But he's already won some ships.
Right. So I don't know where he's at if he comes here, hungry. I don't know. But I wouldn't be opposed. I mean, I think it is going to be interesting as the offseason goes by. The offseason goes by to see what happens. Here's one that says, I think you should look at NBA reference. Rudy Gobert has been our best player by win share the last 2 years. Sabermetrics and analytics are for people that don't understand how basketball sports work. He may be. All I know is, as 10B pointed out, we needed to bench.
The regular season win share is different than you're in a playoff series, Western Conference Finals. It's big boy time.
Yeah.
And that matchup doesn't work for you because you have limitations.
Yeah. And especially when
does Ant ever get pulled because the matchups don't work?
Right, no.
Nope. He's in the game.
And when you're spending that kind of money, as you pointed out, you need to have a two-way player that can stay on the floor. When you're spending that kind of money, so yeah. I mean,
doesn't mean he's not a good player.
No, correct. He's talented. He's won 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He can board a little bit. He had the one game late where he had 27 points and 24 boards. Second to last game of the season, wherever it was. It was great. He's a good player, but to that kind of money, I don't know. I just
and what you had to give up to get him.
Yeah. You're right. There are penalties when you go to the second apron. The biggest of which is having to play while wearing 2 aprons. Wah, wah, wah. Larry Mandela guy. Breaking news. Viking related?
No, the Minnesota Twins announced today that they have reinstated outfielder Byron Buxton from the 7-day concussion injured list. So
yes,
Buxton is back. They optioned outfielder Carson McCusker to AAA St. Paul to make room for Byron.
Common's so happy with the Wolves' law. When the Wolves lose, get eliminated. At least with Ducky and Bunny, you actually get fandom, hopefulness, wet blanket daily grom. I turned the dial a lot of days 12 to through lately, only getting negativity. No, it's called reality. It's called reality. If and there are people that there are people that want homerism or fandom with their sports talk.
They want to be lied to.
Yeah, and they want to be lied to, and they want to be told that child, things are going to get easier. They like the love covenant. We just calls them as we sees them here. And, really, to be honest, I analyze this Wolves team perfectly. I have all year. I told you. But people did not want to listen to me because the truth hurts. And you want to be lied to, or you want to believe, no, it will get better. Remember I kept harping on the effort thing? And what did we see in that? First, Connolly said it after Game 3, after they won. He said, I don't know why we don't have that effort all the time. And then you saw the effort. Game 5 was a microcosm of what this team has done periodically throughout the year, which is another reason why they were in the situation they were, is having to fight to get a 6th seed. I don't know. Maybe it'll be better. I don't know. We'll find out. So, you're going to get a wet blanket when it's deserved. Just the way it's got to be. Sorry. Let's take a break. No 534. It's a Friday. Feminine touch to the program. Lil B, the smoke show from Glencoe. She joins us next here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Want to feel more creative but don't have the right laptop? Lenovo.com can help. Look through our legendary lineup of AI-powered PCs and devices and find the one that fits your passion. Our PCs powered by Intel Core Ultra processors, as well as cutting-edge AI tools, allow students to focus, learn, and create with ease. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. Plus, college students and teachers can get 5% off their order. Shop now on Lenovo.com. The future's waiting, and it needs you.